lecture, which is the difference between male versus female human brains. Okay, so I'm going to show you an image. So first of all, you guys remember what serotonin does, and then we'll go a little bit over the final. You remember what serotonin, the function of serotonin is? Anybody remember? You guys there? Yes?
Regulates the mood.
Yeah, so mood regulation, right? Okay, so if you have too little serotonin, what happens to you? You don't have enough serotonin.
Clinical depression.
Okay, clinical depression. Okay, so I'm going to show you a PET scan of some human brains. You see what I mean here. Okay, so this is like a PET scan of serotonin production in normal brains. Okay, so they took 100 different normal male brains and sort of superimposed them, and they took 100 different normal female brains. So normal, no depression, nothing. So where you see yellow and red means high rates of serotonin synthesis, and where you see blue means low rates. So that's under normal circumstances. So what does it tell you about females with respect to males?
They produce less serotonin than males.
Yes, and so what does that mean in terms of depression and all?
That they have a higher rate of depression than men.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that's like one difference, right? And this is just a biological difference, right? Another difference, we talked about the amygdala. So the amygdala, little almond-shaped part of the forebrain, it's got two lobes, a left lobe and a right lobe. And it's really for things like processing of traumatic events. It's things like rage and fear, right? But it operates differently in the two sexes, right? And you can block the different lobes, okay, and determine it. So for females, it seems, right? Okay, so females, remember these specifics of a traumatic event. Okay, so males remember just of a traumatic event. So for example, a kid gets run over by a car. That's the traumatic event, and males will remember basically that element. Females might remember, okay, kid was playing with a soccer ball rolled in the street, a car with this license number hit the kid. Okay? So that's what I mean by specifics versus gist. Okay? And you could block different sides of the amygdala by doing it. There's a drug called propranolol. Okay, it blocks amygdala, but it blocks one side in females and the other in males. Okay, so that's number two. Another second difference. Okay, how about this one? Let's go to three. Estrogen stimulates dopamine production in drug seeking areas of the brain. Okay, so what does this tell you, just looking at that statement about male versus female drug addiction? So who has more estrogen generally?
Women.
Women, okay. So what does that tell you with respect to drug addiction? Let's say you need dopamine for drug addiction. Because what does that tell you about drug addiction with females with respect to males? What would that statement? If you do a little bit of critical thinking, what would that tell you?
That women are more prone to drug addiction.
Yeah, exactly. And more rehabilitation as well. Very good. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, and the last one is, if I take, let's say, the front part of the cerebral cortex, okay, that's called the orbitofrontal cortex. Okay, and I measure the size of the front part of your cortex. And I divide that by the size of your amygdala. I get a ratio. And why is this ratio important? Well, it turns out that schizophrenic women have a lower ratio than normal women. Okay. But schizophrenic men have a higher ratio than normal men. Why is that important? Well, it's sort of saying the way mental disease manifests itself in the two sexes is different, right? So in the past, they thought, okay, you got a mental disease, let's treat all mental disease the same way for both sexes. It's turning out more and more that the brains function a little bit differently, so perhaps maybe mental disease is different or manifests itself differently in females than males. It opens up a new kind of chapter on how to treat mental disease. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that's basically what I want to say in terms of the lecture. Okay, so that's it for the lecture. Any questions with regards to the final? Remember, when's the final? When's the final?
December 17th at 8 a.m.
December 17th at 8 a.m. next Friday. Yes?
Professor,
Tell me.
is there going to be any short answer questions?
Yes, there will be 6 short essays. Okay, so one of them is going to be, going to be 4 short essays. Okay, so one of them is going to be on the neurotransmitters. Okay, so remember the neurotransmitters we talked about, right? Acetylcholine, serotonin, dopamine. You need to know what they do, how they're removed, and stuff like that. Okay. The second will be on digestion in the small intestine. Okay, so remember, the small intestine is really important, right? Because that's where most of the digestion occurs. But then you got the pancreas and you got the gallbladder and the liver. Liver makes bile. Bile is stored in the gallbladder, helps digestion of fats. Then you have the pancreas, right? So the small intestine sends two hormones. One is to the pancreas for called secretin, that tells the pancreas to release bicarbonate to sort of neutralize the environment because stuff's coming from the stomach. Okay. The second is a hormone called cholecystokinin, right? So this hormone stimulates both the gallbladder and the pancreas to send the bile or the enzymes. What are the enzymes? Amylase from the pancreas. Amylase, lipase for brown fats, trypsin and chemotrypsin for proteins and DNase. Okay, so you should know all that. Okay, so that's your second essay. Okay, your third, hormones regulating glucose and calcium. So what are your hormones regulating glucose and calcium? Everything for the sugar hormones is going to come from the pancreas, right? You have insulin, which lowers blood glucose. You have glucagon, which raises blood glucose. For calcium, you have calcitonin from the thyroid gland that reduces blood calcium. And then you have PTH from the parathyroid glands, those miniature glands within the thyroid that increases blood calcium. Okay. And then you have the fourth essay is the short-term and long-term stress hormones. So remember, your short-term stress hormones include hormones like adrenaline, that's your fight or flight hormone, right? So increases your blood pressure and your heart rate and so forth. But then you also have a long-term stress response over 1 to 2 weeks or more longer. ACTH comes from the pituitary, goes to your adrenal glands, and you're going to make cortisol and aldosterone. So cortisol, what does cortisol do? Increases your blood pressure, increases your glucose, and decreases your immune response. Aldosterone increases your sodium and increases your blood pressure, right? Now, under certain circumstances, your immune system destroys the enzyme 21-hydroxylase that makes cortisol. So you don't have enough cortisol. It's an autoimmune disease called Addison's disease, right? Kennedy suffered from it. Right? So your blood pressure then drops because you're not making any cortisol, right? The other one is if you have too many steroids, too much cortisol, usually by doctor prescribed, and then you get Cushing's disease, right? Higher blood pressure, higher sugars, central obesity, and stuff like that. So those are the 4 essays. Any questions on that? We're good? Yes? No?
Sorry, one more question.
Sure.
How much time are we gonna have?
3 hours.
3 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you have 54 multiple choice, and then you have these 4.
So 54 questions in total.
54 multiple choice, and then 4 short essays. Yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah? And it's all human body, right? Nothing else. Starting from reproduction. Are we good? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, friends. Let me see. Okay, so lab-wise,
Professor, I have a quick question.
Sure.
How many points is each essay question gonna be worth, or we can know that?
yeah, let me see. I think like 20 points or something like that.
Okay,
15, 20 points, yeah.
great, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the finals are worth twice as much as an exam. Yeah, 200 points. Yeah. Any questions? Yes, no? Okay, the last lab is basically, so that's equivalent to lab 14 because we missed one lab. It should be lab 15, but it's just basically a blurb. So there's a video on the La Brea tar pits. Has anybody been to the tar pits?
Yeah, I live very close by to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. You should visit it if you can. I don't know if it's open. It should be open. But what it is basically a living museum, right? So everything inside the museum was excavated outside, which is, most museums don't do that. You get stuff from other places. This one, everything was excavated in the LA area and the tar pits outside, all the animals are caught there. So it's pretty cool. So there's a little video on it. So just write a blurb on what interests you in the tar pits, and like a paragraph, right? You do it as a group. You don't have to meet today, right? Or you can meet on your own. Yes?
Yeah.
Good.
So we're good, my friends? Yes? Any questions?
Are we gonna be doing that right now or at the?
You do it whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And that is it. We will hopefully see you
Recording stopped.
next Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have any questions, you can email me, text me. You know the routine, right? So. All right, guys. We will end it here.
Are we
Yes.
meeting back for lab?
No, I mean not necessarily. You just do it just because it's a video you have to watch and blur on the carpets, right?
Okay, so we just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just want individual responses this time?
Yeah, you just give it to me individually.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a blur
Perfect.
paragraph, right?
Thank you.
All right, guys. We will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.